Dropping out of high school is something that, I did not want to do. I was homeless, so I didn't really have a choice. And I need to do something drastic to change the trajectory of my life. And I've been doing content creation for a while, and to be able to influence people in a way where they could feel something was just a dream.
Business casual.
From Morning Brew, this is Business Casual, bringing you convos with people you know and some you may not know yet to make business less intimidating. Because money talks, but it does not have to be dull. I'm your host, Nora Ali. Now let's get down to business. Entrepreneurs are no stranger to risk. In fact, most of the people we talk to on Business Casual had to, at some point, make the big decision to just do the thing, to make the leap. But our guest today is someone who decided to go all in on his dreams when he had really nothing left to lose. Alex Warren is a 21-year-old content creator on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And as he said in an interview with Netflix, he's gone from negative $600 and homeless to a millionaire, all in the ages of 17 to 20. Of course, his success did not come out of the blue. Alex has been working for it. He's been uploading videos for 11 years, which, if you do the math, is more than half of his young life. And as he told us, he's a freak with the algorithm when it comes to TikTok. He studies and analyzes it. He A/B tests posts over multiple accounts. He has a whiteboard. And to me, it sounds a lot like a tech startup. And I was frankly blown away by just how thoughtful and smart Alex is about all the stuff that he makes. And it's all paid off. Alex now boasts 20 million plus cumulative followers across accounts. And he recently released a single, Remember Me Happy. He launched a podcast. He also stars in the new Netflix series, Hype House. My conversation with Alex was surprising in so many ways and a testament to just how impressive full-time creators can be. We talked about how to build a successful brand that's all over the place in a very controlled way, in his words, what it's like to go from having nothing to making and spending over $1 million in a year. And he kind of regrets that overspending. How he's finally figured out how to manage his money and how his ultimate goal is to get to a point where he can just slow down. Me too, Alex. Me too. That is all next after a quick break. Today's Business Casual is brought to you by Real Vision. We bring you some pretty insightful business stories on this podcast, at least we think so. But if you're looking to dive even deeper into the world of finance, business, and the global economy, Real Vision has got you covered. No bias, no BS. That's what you'll get with all of the on-demand videos and analysis at Real Vision. Plus, Real Vision gives you access to financial info that was largely kept behind closed doors, the stuff that's actually important and affects your wallet, investments, and your future. Ready to become a real expert in investing, business, and the economy? Get started with Real Vision's Investor Psychology course at realvision.com/businesscasual. That's realvision.com/businesscasual. All right, Alex.
Hi.
Welcome to Business Casual.
Thanks.
We usually like to start with an icebreaker that's workplace related, but I feel like you don't work in a traditional workplace. So
Right.
I'm switching it up a little bit.
Okay.
I want to ask you if you have a pet peeve, specifically a TikTok related pet peeve. For example, I'll give you mine. I hate when people spread a single story over multiple parts, over multiple TikToks. That annoys me and everyone else.
Yeah.
Do you have any pet peeves that come to mind?
I have plenty. I think the biggest one for me is because I'm in the music realm now too, my biggest pet peeve is when people make up stories to get pre-saves. So the whole oh, my label won't let me put the song out until I get 100,000 pre-saves. And I just watch that and I'm just that's just it's like selling a fake product. And it's something where it's I hate it because you were so creative with that song. Be creative with the promotion. It's a huge important part of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess to that point, what's your approach to promoting your music?
Several.
Where does the creativity come in for you?
I mean, a lot of it is thankfully I come from social media. So that's the thing where it's more of I have to prove myself in the music space as opposed to musicians right now have to prove themselves in the social space to generate pre-saves and streams. Unless you're Harry Styles. But it's kind of the thing where, it's seeing exactly what your audience wants. And for me, thankfully, I understand what they want. They subscribe to the couples videos and they subscribe to the idea that, I'm very open about my past and everything that I've gone through and, it reflects in the music. So therefore, when I promote it, I make the music about those things that I've gone through and it really resonates with them because it's something that's relatable in my space. I have a spam account where I just post fun trends and stuff to my songs. So it's kind of understanding what can do well without having to sell out.
Can you explain what you mean by you have a spam account that posts trends? What is that?
Yeah, so I have like 5 different TikTok accounts just to kind of like, you know how TikTok is interest based, so your For You page is interest based. Most of my content on my main account is very much couple stuff and promoting music in a authentic way where I'm just playing the song and hoping people will like it. And then on my spam account that has I think almost 2 million followers, I just post like, you know, trends that have gone viral or videos that have gone viral, and I think they'd be funny if I added my sound to it. So I like repurpose content or film my own content of stuff that, you know, it's where they can see like these trends with my song on it, but also I can, you know, feel things out and see if it'll do well on that account, that I can do something similar on my main account. So that way it's not so much of a hit.
Oh, is that common for people to have multiple accounts, spam accounts, try out different trends, and you know?
No,
get
I'm
people to
just
notice their
aggressive.
music like that?
I'm extremely aggressive.
I like it.
I'm very business oriented. Like that's the thing where it's like, you know, I love the, not business, I'd say analytical side of the business, where like I really love the numbers and analytically seeing why people walked away. It's kind of like a fun game for me to be able to see how I can make a video better. And so like, you know, I can't just do a survey and ask 1,000 people what they think. So the only people who are going to partake in the survey are the people who are very loyal to me. So it's like something where I have to then test out the waters on a second account. And so like if I make videos and I don't know if it's going to resonate well on my main account, most times if you know you're trying out new things on your main account, a lot of people who have been subscribed to the normal stuff that you're posting, they're going to see that and be like, oh, he's changing what he's doing, I'm going to jump ship. And to prevent that from happening, I would post it on a different account that has a similar following of like, you know, demographic and like you kind of can see like specifics, and I'll post things that I think, you know, would do okay, and depending on how they do on that account, then that determines whether or not I'm going to post it on my main.
You're like a little tech startup. You have a separate environment where you're testing out different things, so your main audience
Sure.
isn't like, whoa, what's happening? I like that a lot.
Because like that's the one thing where people like, you know, I see them post onto their stories and I see them post onto their social medias, and it's like, what do you think about this? And it's like you're asking a question you know you're going to get the answer to, because like I could literally post a foot of my toe, and let's just say my toe is one of the ugliest toes in the world, and I post it to my following. They want to make me happy the same way I want to make them happy. So they're going to be like, you know, that is a beautiful toe, and they're going to lie to me. And so like that's the thing where it's like, you know, you have to put it in a natural setting where you're going to be open for judgment and for people who don't really know who you are.
That is so interesting. I did not know that was a thing that anyone did, but it sounds like you have more of an approach to figuring out what works than a lot of other creators we've talked to. So I do want to back up a little bit. For the uninitiated, how would you describe your brand on TikTok, and who if you could sort of summarize who your demo is as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, my demo is very, and this correlates with the brand. I think my brand on TikTok is very all over the place in a very controlled way. That's the biggest oxymoron I could have ever used. But essentially, what it is, most of my demographic on TikTok is, I would say 14 to 16, like 13 to 16 or 13 to 18-year-old girls, which is like, I think I have like 75% female, because the couple videos, and like most people who are engaging in content and hitting the follow button typically tend to be female. And it's a lot of times, you know, with my content, especially filming with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend is a hoot. I love her so much, but she's funny.
She's the best part of your account, for sure.
And she's very relatable, and she's very much like, you know, our couple and our dynamic is something of kind of like a characteristic of what people either aspire to have or find relatable in their own personalities. The music is majority, like it's cut in the middle on the music. And then on the YouTube, it's almost cut in the middle as well. So like, it's difficult to find a hardcore demographic to kind of hit on if you're trying to essentially like pitch in a way, because it's so all over the place on each platform, because I'm offering different things for each thing. And my brand is very much like couple.
Yeah, and this is a question that I think founders and company leaders ask is, okay, we know who our demographic is on certain platforms. Do we lean into that and create content that we know will resonate with them? Or do we try to expand who that demographic is? Let's say if you're trying to grow your following by 10x or 20x or by magnitudes, do you want to start making content that caters to, you know, 35-year-old men? That's just a weird example down the line.
Sure. I think it's also very packed though, because like like I explained earlier, what I feel like a lot of companies haven't gotten the grasp on is the fact is that, you know, TikTok is very interest based. And so no matter what, you should be looking at engagement. And when you ask people for analytics, which no company's done this yet, and I'm like, why aren't you doing this? Like, if I started a company and I was looking at TikTokers to promote, I wouldn't ask them for their analytics of who follows them. You know, like that's the thing where, you know, you have to look at how often they're on the For You page and who on the For You page is looking at that, because it's interest based. So whatever you're posting, it's going to go off of the interest of that and then go on to every person like that's account. And you want the people who are hitting the For You page all the time, not their following. If you're going for someone's following, go on Instagram and go on YouTube. And I mean, yeah, sure, hit TikTok if they have a huge following, a massive following. But even then, most of the people with the massive following, like my videos are 70% For You page, 30% following. So it's like, if you want to play it safe, go for the big guys, but they're going to charge more because they have that leverage, opposed to people who are getting on the For You page all the time, but it's on a minor scale. And it's like, my engagement is very much there, but it's very subjective. And that's why, like, demographic and stuff like that is very tricky to kind of play on TikTok, because you don't really have a perfect analytic for that.
Yeah, so I guess if you're a brand or a company that wants to work with a creator on TikTok, what are some of the questions that you think they should be asking? Like, what's the breakdown of the views that you get between For You page and from your following? What are some of the things, the smart things that brands should be looking at for creators they want to work with?
How often their videos are successful, the AVD, so like how often are people watching through the video and how much they're engaging in it. Not even just that as well.
What is AVD? What is AVD?
Average view duration. So like how long they're watching the video. Because here's the thing, a video could get, you know, X amount of views, but at the end of the day, like I want to know if they're going to watch fully for the product line. Because what if they decide to put my integration and the hard points that I want them to talk about at the way end, but people are cutting out 15 minutes before or 15 seconds before that? Like that's not like applicable for what I'm trying to do then. So like that's something that I kind of hardcore set on. But also, like, if I do a brand deal with you and, you know, you have history of doing brand deals, but those brand deals get significantly less, how can you, like, I hate like, if I was a company, I wouldn't want to give them a set thing to do. I'd want to say, hey, do you have any ideas for the brand? Do you have any ideas on what you would do with, if I gave you this, what could you make out of it? And how does that align with your content?
The notion of getting on the For You page, obviously that's super important, but some people have created followings based on just trying to educate people on how to get on the For You page and how to get viral and how to get more viewers.
Yeah.
Is there a hypothesis in your eyes of how you can make it more likely to get on more For You pages?
Yeah, it's just studying the algorithm. The algorithm is an AI-based interest algorithm, and so many people are trying to monetize off that by creating fucking like Discords and stuff and being like, pay me X amount of dollars for a session and I'll explain it to you. And then you look at their profile and literally none of their videos are on the For You page and it's boosted. If it's so easy and you're teaching me how to do it, why the heck are your videos not on the For You page? And that's something that's like, you know, someone teaching you how to sing, but they don't know how to sing. What the heck is that? I have a really high engagement because I've cracked the pattern, but I can't tell you the pattern because it's different for every person. It's based on your profile and what your audience, like, think of it like this, like two rooms look the same or very similar. And it's like, you know, someone comes in and paints the room and they teach you how to paint. That other room is not going to be the same painting. They taught you to paint and everything, but it's not going to be the same way. It's how you dictate it. And that might be a poor analogy, but essentially you have a certain fan base or audience who's already subscribing to that, to what you're posting. And then it's like, you know, if you're going to copy my content, it's not going to get on the For You page as it does for me, because that maybe your fan base is 60% male. And it's like, that's not going to resonate. So it's like finding why they signed up for you, finding, like, because if you post 100 times, you're bound to get one somewhat viral video, or a video that does better. And then from that, it's like, okay, that video did really good. How can I recreate that process? Or like, you look at the analytics and be like, okay, people clicked off later. Why did they click off later opposed to this video? And like, so my best practice when I do is I have a whiteboard in here, and I'll put a whiteboard up and I'll get 6 videos, 3 videos that I thought performed well and 3 videos I thought performed like really bad. And I'll see in the number side, it's like searching for something and you find it. You'll find why it did bad or why it didn't do as well, whether it's like, you know, the shares or the engagement or the followers you gained from that post. And once you like find like the kind of differences, you can then hone in on it and figure out how you can change it in the content of it.
Wow. You have a whiteboard that helps you analyze what works and what doesn't. Yeah, and that's such a good point. It's so different depending on the creator. So for anyone to say like, this is what works, this is how you game the algorithm, just doesn't make any sense.
I love talking about it because this is how I got to where I was. I studied the algorithm. So I'm a freak with it. I love talking about it. But if that's something that, like, you know, I'm talking too much about, change the subject. I will follow you.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey.
Yeah.
So you've been posting content for what, 11 years now, something like that, which is like half your life.
Yeah.
So you dropped out of high school senior year to pursue content creation full time. And it's clear that, you know, you've been at this for so long that you have your methods, you have your analysis. It's not like you're just doing this willy-nilly. Yeah. But you were certain from a young age that you wanted to do content creation sort of full time and go all in. Why was that? And I feel like you realized this before a lot of other people realize this.
Yeah, I mean, first to hit on, like, you know, dropping out of high school is something that, you know, I did not want to do. I was homeless, so I didn't really have a choice. But that's something where it's like, you know, I had to put all my eggs in a basket and kind of be like, okay, you know, I can't look for a part-time job. Because I was working at a restaurant. I'm like, there's no moving up. There's no promotion that I'm interested in for the long run, and I need to do something drastic to change the trajectory of my life. And I've been doing content creation for a while, but I was in love with putting something out and making someone feel a certain way. Like the idea that someone could then, you know, message me and say, this changed my life, or, you know, this is, you know, I really, really look up to what you're doing, is something I always aspired to have. And to be able to, like, influence people in a way where they could feel something was just a dream. And so, like, music was the start of it. Like, I would post singing clips all the time, and I just really realistically had no confidence in my ability to do that. And I did have a confidence in my way of making film and, like, making videos to portray a feeling. And so, like, you know, I really took a lot of inspiration from, like, you know, a lot of movies and TV shows and YouTubers who were doing that at the time and making them either laugh or sad or making them feel a certain way with certain music and whatnot. And so I just went hard on that, and I was posting that and then utilizing the fact that musically I had at the time, I was gaining a following pretty quickly on there because no one was posting comedy videos. It was all lip syncing, like F-boys. And so I knew I didn't have the body or face for that. So I had the face for radio. So I had to figure out, like, what I had to do to kind of, like, influence the decision. So I would make comedy skits and funny things, and, you know, I would film my girlfriend and have fun, and they were doing really well. And then I just put my YouTube clips and shrunk them down into short form 15-second clips that were really fast and, like, highlight reels of the highlight reel YouTube videos I was doing, and would promote the video and, like, make it off a cliffhanger. So that way when you watched it, you were like, oh shit, I want to see more. And then it was like full video on my YouTube, and then it would get them to go where the money was. And I was building a following there while getting them to go watch the full version and be more invested in it.
At what point so you're figuring out how to get more followers over time. Yeah. At what point do you decide to lay out a plan, whether it's a career plan, financial plan, figuring out if you can sustain yourself by doing this for a living? Was there a moment where you just had to figure out what the future might look like?
I literally had to choose pursue this and have the chance that it would absolutely suck, or pursue the restaurant industry of what I was bussing tables. And one seemed a lot more lucrative, but also one I was actually passionate about. I just never felt like, with the way that my life had gone at the current moment, that I could actually do that. And so I was just like, you know, frick it. I'm 18 living in someone else's car right now. Like, my life could not get any worse at this current moment. And if there's a time to try this and there's a time to really go at this, it's now, opposed to when I'm 24. And so it's like, you know, there was nothing I could lose. I was already homeless. I already had negative $600 in my bank account. I already didn't know where I was going to eat. So it was like, this was the moment where I was like, okay, this is now the time, or if not, never.
The scale at which your followers grew was pretty quick, from 1 million to 14 million followers in 1 year. Was there a point at which you started feeling different, or living your life differently, or starting to spend on things that you didn't think you'd be able to? Walk me through when that moment was for you.
This is once I've, like, you know, going from homeless to millions of dollars is as awesome as that is. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you about the terrible things that it was, because it wasn't. And I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. Poor me. Yeah. But, like, this is something where I didn't know what the hell to do. Like, I went from, it went like this. Nothing for, like, ever. And then all of a sudden, $1,000. And then all of a sudden, $2,500. And that's when I was like, okay, I can quit the restaurant job and go at this full time. And then it went from $2,500 to $5,000. And then went from $5,000 to $10,000. And then $10,000 to $25,000. And then all the way up until, like, you know, $400,000 a month. And this was something where it was, like, very fast, and it creeped up extremely fast to the point where, like, I didn't save for taxes. I spent almost all of it. And it was like, I think in 1 year I spent $1 million, and I had no money for taxes. I was like, you know what, I'm going to continue making this. I just signed a deal. You know, I'm just going to spend it, and, like, you know, I'll make it back the next month and just pay that on the taxes, not realizing that more money coming in means that half that money is going to go out. So I'd have to have 2 months of no spending to make up for the 1 month that I had not paid. And so like it was just this whole thing. I just kept buying cars, and I kept buying, just the dumbest things. And I would like, my family, I was like, here's a car, here's all this, here's all that. And it's like, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that. Like those are things where it's like, I never thought about.
Do you find that this is sort of common where people like you create, you get a big following, you make a lot of money suddenly, and no one is around you to advise you on your finances? Have you seen this happen to your peers?
No, this is so stupid. I thought I would too. I thought like
it's just you.
I went around to like my friends, and like I'm not going to name names because they obviously don't want to. I feel like they don't like it when their money is like out in the open. But like so many of my friends, I was like, oh hey, like taxes really bit me in the ass here. They're like, yeah, you should get a guy. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, I have a whole financial team, and now thankfully I have a whole financial team that handles every single thing to the point where if I want to buy a car, they'll literally like handle everything and it gets shipped to my house. And it's really, really simple and really awesome. But like it took me a while. It took me 2 years to get to where I am today, and now I have like separate business accounts, and I have so many LLCs and S corps, and I have like different because I'm always doing company things, and like I suck at saving money, and so they take my cards, and I go, can I buy this? And they say yes or no, and then I do it.
So you have all these things that you're doing, right? You're a musician, you're a creator, you are part of Hype House, and there's the Netflix series about it. You also have a podcast, which we'll get into in a moment. But how do you determine the portfolio of things that you want to do? Whether it's balancing what's revenue driving versus what's just brand building, how does that calculus happen for you and your team?
Well, when it comes down to like, with me, is I've realized over time, it's like when you chase the money for a while, it stops coming. And it's so strange that happened. And you mentioned Hype House. Is like something for me is when I had left the Hype House and no longer a part of it, but I helped create it, and everything was, a few months ago I had decided, or around 6 months ago I decided to leave, just because it was like something where me is like, if you hang on to something for too long, it's just not going to get what you're trying to get out of it. And so we built it up and whatever, and Thomas had taken over it, and we were just like, me and Culver wanted to like go off and focus on different avenues of life and be an adult. And the biggest thing for me is like, music is really the true passion. I've been obsessed with it ever since I was a kid, and I never thought it was possible. And, when I found out labels wanted to sign me, that was the coolest part of it. But when it comes down to it, whatever you focus more on, you're going to make the most money on. Like I know social media, if I put every ounce of attention into that, I'm going to make tenfold what I'm making now. I found out if you do an arena tour and you sell out 25,000 tickets, you can make profit $1.6 million. And so imagine the people who are doing the 90,000 stop tours. Each stop is probably $3.2 million, $3.6 million per stop profit. And so that's like, that's crazy to think about, but you have all those avenues, syncs and stuff. Like if a TV show or a movie wants to play your song, you can charge out the butt, and brand deals too, and commercials, especially because you would become like, if you're going trajectory-wise to a mainstream singer, those deals could be multi-million dollars just for a 30-second commercial. And so those are the things you have to like see. It's like if you focus so hard on music, you could get to that point, but also you have to enjoy it, or else you burn out. And that's what I've watched a lot of people do, is they just chase the money and burn out, and all of a sudden it's gone. Right. And they then go, I want to be an actor now that all my engagement is down and I can't milk any more money out of this. And everyone's like, why do we want you to be an actor after we just saw you get completely like irrelevant, or like your views have gone? That's a poor phrasing of words. But like, if you chase the money for so long and it wasn't your true passion, you should have done it at the height of your career when the money was coming in.
We are on a podcast, so I have to talk about your podcast, little podcastception. So it's called Locked In with Alex Warren. So you lock in influencers and your friends in a room. You ask them questions. You make them uncomfortable. They can't leave until the clock strikes 0. Yeah. So we've heard from plenty of creators who like the idea of hosting podcasts. For some reason, that's kind of the cool thing to do these days, which makes me feel good as a podcast host. So why the podcast route for you? What was the impetus for this particular podcast?
I mean, for me, if you haven't noticed, I love talking. But also, a big thing is like, I've experienced a lot of loss in my life, and I've experienced a lot of, bad shit that's happened. And so I didn't realize that people wanted to hear about it. I thought like, it's the whole mindset of, you hear me complaining about depression and trauma and the things I've gone through, and everyone's like, oh, boo-hoo, the Millionaire is fucking sad. And so it's like the whole thing is like, I always was under the impression that it would be like that big thing where like no one wanted to hear what I had to say because of that. And in reality, it was something where it's like, I never viewed it as the way, and funny enough, Logan Paul is the person who made me think this way of like, people want to hear what you want to say. And that's because I was thinking of it in a negative context, but I'm not thinking of who it's going to help. And like when I was a kid and I wanted to do this and I had, a terrible childhood, horrible childhood, I thought for sure it would never be possible. I never thought it'd be possible to get to where I am today. I never thought it'd be something of, the capability of fruition. And instead, it is, and I could talk about my experience. And so it's really cool is I was with Tana Mojo, funny enough, and she was telling me about all of the things that's going on in her life and all the hard childhood that I never knew about, and everyone just has a certain notion they have with her of like, she's a dramatic person. And so I was like, why don't you talk about this? Why don't people would love to hear it? People would be inspired by this. And she's like, oh, people only want to see, my provocative videos, and that's about it. Like and I'm like, that is a problem, and you know it. And so I created this thing of like, I have a whole gimmick. It's locked in, be scared, be uncomfortable. And in the end of it, we end up talking about such uncomfortable things, or like things that would be viewed as uncomfortable, but about their childhood. And it's like a whole therapy session between two people. And I'm just really good at talking and also listening. And that's the whole premise of it. And people listen to it and they're like, I cannot believe this person's actually like this. And it's like, I call it the truth behind the clickbait, literally because of Tana Mojo. It's because people find out stuff about someone that they thought was just clickbait or thought of who they were, and then got to see the real meat behind it.
Yeah, and you have a really great ability to get people to talk about things that they haven't talked about with other interviewers or on other platforms. I listened to your episode with Harry Jowsey from Too Hot to Handle, and you had this conversation that I thought was so interesting around OnlyFans and how much money people make on OnlyFans. Are you surprised at the lucrative nature of the platform? And even for Harry, you guys talked about the fact that he put a sex tape on OnlyFans and it was behind a paywall for $200 per person, and he's making millions of dollars on that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on OnlyFans and how much money people can make?
Smart as hell. Are you kidding? Like, you have to think about it like this. I didn't understand it in the beginning because I looked like the human embodiment of the Michelin Man. But anything else beside that is like, no one's going to pay money to see me naked. They've watched Star Wars. They've seen Jabba the Hutt.
You don't know that, Alex.
No, I get it. But like, it's something where it's like, you see these attractive people on TikTok or on Netflix or on anything. And as teenage hormones and locked up COVIDness, everyone was like, wow, like this person's extremely attractive. And you know how humans are, they're very, I'm not going to get into anatomy, but like, it's the thing, it's like, people are curious. People want to see what I'm not even going to get it. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. So the idea that you could monetize off the fact that people are already thinking that about you, or, you see TikTok and whatever guy or celebrity is becoming famous, or someone's talking, like right now it's the guy with the mustache. It's Miles Teller. How much money do you think Miles Teller would make right now if he made an OnlyFans?
Literally $1 billion.
My point.
That's
it's
so
like
much money.
These are things where it's like, this is crazy to think about, is someone can actually monetize off the fact that someone is looking at them in a sexual notion that way. And it's like, they're like, I need a bag. People are already saying shit about me on Twitter. People are still like already like making fake videos of me on different, adult videos and stuff. It's like, I'm going to fucking make my bag. And like, that was like the whole idea, I think, behind it. And people just followed suit after Bad Baby made millions of dollars already. And then Corinna Kopf. And then, these people are becoming multimillionaires. And I'm wondering what the hell their taxes look like.
Me too. Well, Harry said that part of his reasoning for putting out this sex tape was that he said it's my retirement plan because he doesn't want to be on OnlyFans forever.
Yeah.
So do you have a retirement plan, Alex?
No.
Such that you're not constantly on this like wheel of making content, or I guess you love it so much that you don't think about it. It's
an unhealthy obsession, and that's something where it's like I've been told I need to go to therapy. I agree, I do. It's and in all seriousness, it is very unhealthy. My whole thing is I go to bed at like 4 a.m. and I wake up at 7:30, and it's like 3 hours of sleep. I work from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. I don't leave the house, which is just crazy. Like I don't have a social life. Like I don't have friends. I live with just my friends I grew up with, and no, but it's serious, and I'm okay with it though. That's the weirdest part. The reason I'm okay with talking about this is I'm fully fine with it. I have dogs. I have chickens. I have dogs, I have chickens, I have cats, I have my 3 friends I grew up with, I have my girlfriend who's practically my wife, And
Oh.
that's like, and I have, a mortgage and I have my life. And like, that's like, I feel like I'm a 28, 29-year-old who's got his life figured out and he's raising kids. But in reality, I'm raising Australian Shepherds and I'm dating a girl. And so it's like, I'm so focused on working and setting up my life to be, be able to retire. And like, maybe that's just like selling enough records or doing whatever, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And to me, it's like sitting around and watching all these people in this, there's awkward stages of social media. Everyone goes irrelevant for one moment. Their views drop, their money goes down, and they start freaking out and panicking. And I've been able to dictate when that comes for me. And, right now would be that point, but somehow I've passed through it and I'm still averaging insane views. I'm still, ranking in like a lot of money. And like, that's something that I had prepared for that. And therefore I'm able to not freak out during this moment and be able to coast. And so like right now I'm just, planning for music, making sure that I have enough to what it takes to prove to the label and prove to the fan base and prove to whoever may doubt the fact that I could do music. And be able to like, I built a studio in here. And so I could just, amass my time. And I take vocal lessons 5 to 6 times a week. I take piano lessons, music theory lessons, everything. And I've watched all these TikTokers go to music and not know what they're doing and then get shelved because all of a sudden they left for a month social media to make an album, come back, and no one cares about them anymore. And that's something where it's like, I have to cover all my bases and it's a lot of excruciating work and it's eventually going to pay off. But at what moment am I giving too much and taking too little?
So I do want to ask you a couple of bonus questions before we let you go,
Sure.
Alex, if you're down.
Yeah, I love it.
So this is for a segment called Shoot Your Shot. So I would love to hear what your biggest ambition is, your moonshot idea, your biggest goal in life. This is your chance to put it out in the world and shoot your shot.
Yeah, I mean,
Go for it.
My biggest goal is nothing monetary, to say the least. It's just for me to be able to slow down, relax, and be able to just have the house that I want with the woman of my dreams and the children that I would love. And that is the main goal is, by 30 to have all life figured out to the point where I'm just, because as much as it seems like I have my life figured out right now, this is just a set plan that I think of what's going to happen. I'm working towards that plan, but at the same time, it's like, I just want to be able to wake up and worry about normal things. I haven't been to a doctor since I was 17. Like
What?
Yeah, like I don't have time to focus on like my own health, which is just nuts to think about. And so today I went to a chiropractor today because I have TMJ and, they were doing some jaw adjustments. And the first time I sat down and he's like, we're going to align you all up. And I was like, I haven't done anything for my own body. I've been living off fucking DoorDash and Chipotle for like, I eat like a dog because it's just as fuel and I keep going. But it's like to be able to wind down and worry about like trash going out and walking my dog and like just normal things and be able to just be like, hey honey, do you want to go to the beach today? And like, that's what I dream to be able to do that, because if I was to do that now, I'd have to give up so many things that may hinder me in the future. And so it's just to be able to be present for my kids and be present for my wife and be present for my life and be able to enjoy the things that I worked so hard to build.
That's so wonderful. But Alex, it sounds like you're such an ambitious, driven, hands-on person. Do you think you'll be able to slow down ever? Or is it there's always going to be a new milestone?
I think I'll be able to slow down. I just don't think I'm going to be able to stop. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And it's like,
we
so
just
weird.
need you to get your annual physical, Alex. Just
Yeah.
Annual physical.
Wait, no, that's when
therapy.
that's when they do like this. Oh God.
What? Are you afraid of the doctor?
Yeah, I tried to go to the doctor when I had some downtime, and it's so funny. I went and I was like, I haven't been in a while. I have a bullet in my lung because I've been shot before, and I was like, I want to just make sure like I'm not gonna die or something. And they're like, okay, cool, yeah. The only way we can tell is if we draw your blood and be able to do that stuff. And I'm terrified of drawing my blood. Like I do tattoos fine, but drawing blood is terrible. And I go, okay, sounds good. He leaves the room to go get the stuff. I leave, and I've never been back.
You ran away from
I'm
the
so
doctor.
scared. Yeah,
Alex,
so I have to face my fears.
You've been shot?
I think I was supposed to pay for that too.
That's
Oh yeah.
fine. We're not worried about the payment. We can real quick, if you can share.
Yeah, I have a bullet in my lung.
got
It was
shot
it was a minor thing back in the day. I was, I think, 18, 19. It was right when I was like finding a place. Like again, everything messed up that happened to me was when I was homeless. But there was something where it's like, I didn't have a place to live, and so I'd like go house hopping. And one of my friend's houses, there was a parent who owned a air rifle that was chambered in .177. So if you know anything about bullets, it's the smallest grain of a actual firearm. And they were messing around and didn't know it was loaded and shot at something, and ricochet and stuff like that entered my body, and stuck in my lung.
Oh my god.
And so the bullet that was shot at me is like sharp on the end and flat on the back. And so once it enters, it's gonna play pinball with my interior stuff, and it's lodged in my lung. And if I tried to take it out, it would be a higher chance of death. So I was just like, let's not do that.
Oh my gosh, that's nuts. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
and even more
it's
reason
fun
to
story.
go to the doctor. Yeah, very fun.
Yeah,
Story.
yeah.
Put that on your to-do list. Okay, I will be following up with you to make sure you
Amazing.
make an appointment.
Yeah.
Okay, very last question, Alex. Very last
Sure,
question.
sure.
Super easy.
Yeah.
What is the best thing you saw this week? It could be a TikTok, it could be a TV show episode, an article, your girlfriend's face in the morning, really anything that brought you joy.
I mean, my girlfriend's face to play it safe, but we've been watching Modern Family a lot. Like I watched it growing up and stopped at a certain season, and to rewatch it and stuff, it's like I wish that real life was like Modern Family. That would be the dream life.
What character would you be on Modern Family?
I'm Phil. I'm Phil all the way.
You're Phil?
Yeah. I'm like, it's so
Is
funny.
your girlfriend like Claire?
No, she's like another Phil. We're two Phils.
Okay, Alex, this is a game called Two Beats and a Miss. That's our business slang version of Two Truths and a Lie.
Okay, cool.
Very easy. So I'm going to name you 3 things. 2 things are true, 1 thing is false. First thing, Nikita Dragon has 5 known dragon tattoos.
Okay.
I know you know Nikita well.
Yeah.
Number 2, Jack Wright graduated cum laude from his high school. And the last thing is Thomas Petru is half Greek. These are 3 things, 1 of them is a lie.
So I know Thomas is Greek. I know Nikita has a dragon tattoo. I don't know how many. And what did you say Jack graduated from?
Cum laude from his high school.
What's
so
that
like
mean?
top of his class.
Jack did not graduate top of his class. That's the lie.
You are correct.
Jack once asked me something, and I immediately knew. I was like, I didn't graduate from high school, but did you? Jack is the sweetest motherfucker ever, but he is. I call him the human embodiment of a golden retriever, and he also thinks like it too.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. So it turns out his twin James did graduate cum laude
James is
from
a
high school,
fucking genius.
Oh wow, we love James.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you for playing that
Thank
game
you.
with us.
Thank you for having me.
This is Business Casual, and I'm Nora Ali. You can follow me on Twitter at Nora K. Ali, and I would love to hear from you. If you have ideas for episodes, comments, thoughts on episodes you loved, fun segment ideas, shoot me a DM, and I'll do my best to respond. I'll at least read your DM. You can also reach the BC team by emailing businesscasual@morningbrew.com or call us. That number is 862-295-1135. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Business Casual on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And if you like the show, please leave us a rating and a review. It really, really helps us. Business Casual is produced by Catherine Millsop and Bella Hutchins. Additional production, sound design, and mixing by Daniel Marcus. Sarah Singer is our VP of Multimedia. Music in this episode from Daniel Marcus and the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. Thanks for listening to Business Casual. I'm Nora Ali. Keep it business and keep it casual.
Business Casual.
If you like what you saw and you like what you heard, you can listen to the entire episode of this podcast, Business Casual, anywhere you get your podcasts. And please go ahead and subscribe to the Morning Brew YouTube channel and go ahead and click on that alarm bell, that thing right there, so you can be alerted anytime there's a new video.